So nice to see you all. Thank you for joining our session today. For those who don't know me, my name is Donisha Smith, and I oversee the Center for Financial Empowerment, which is housed in the county's Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. The CFE works to improve the financial health of county residents with an emphasis on Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We do this by developing cross-sector partnerships, working to build capacity amongst service providers, and advocating for issues and policies that advance wealth equity on behalf of BIPOC communities. We hold webinars on a monthly basis called Empowering Conversations as a way to help local service providers and practitioners stay current on trending financial empowerment issues and for you to share the information, tools, and resources with the clients you serve as they work towards improving their financial health. So today's session is about a really important asset building strategy. And so, to borrow a definition from the Asset Funders Network, asset building is how individuals and families gather the resources they need to move towards economic stability right now and in the years to come. And so, assets or resources range from business ownership, home ownership, savings accounts, and more. And education is considered an asset. A college education is a key component to achieving economic mobility. College degrees are linked to higher earnings, and the more you earn, the more disposable income you have, which increases your financial stability. Yet, for so many youth from low to moderate income households, access to a college education is unaffordable and feels out of reach. So, children's savings account programs have really flourished in the past few years, and they are important initiatives aimed at expanding access to post secondary education and promoting college completion for low income students and students of color. I am so pleased to have Rochelle Owen Rinwald, Outreach Specialist with the Scholarshare Investment Board, with us today to tell us more about CalKIDS, which is a statewide program to provide eligible low income public school students with up to $1,500 to save for their retirement. I want to share a few housekeeping items before we begin. Please remain on mute so we can eliminate any background noise. We want to hear all the great information Rochelle has to share with us. The session will be recorded and shared after the event. And please feel free to post your questions in the chat. And Rochelle will have a Q&A session after her presentation, and she'll do her best to address all of your questions. And so with that, now I want to turn it over to Rochelle to get us started. Rochelle, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Donisha. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rochelle Owen Reinwald. And as Donisha had noted, I am with the State Treasurer's Office. We have an agency within the State Treasurer's Office called Scholarshare Investment Board. And it's there that we house our Children's Savings Account initiative for California's young people and families who wish to pursue higher education after high school. So I just wanted to definitely make a shout out and a thank you so much to the Center for Financial Empowerment for giving us this opportunity to share information about this incredible program that we've recently launched here at the Scholarshare Investment Board, and that's our CalKIDS program. So I'm going to go ahead and as I talk through today, a lot of your questions are going to be answered in the conversation that we have moving forward. But if you want to afterwards, we can go ahead and take those questions live, or you can feel free to put those in the chat as well. And I'll try and address those as I go through the conversation. So if you wouldn't mind moving the slide forward for me, please, that'd be great. Thank you. So today, what we're just going to do is really give you an overview of the program. We're going to talk about eligibility, the amount of money in these college savings accounts, and then we're going to, if you'll select one more time, click that for me. We're going to talk about registering your account, requesting a distribution for those monies, how to impact your growth opportunities with asset growing opportunities through a ScholarShare 529 account. And then we will always discuss resources. Something we're very proud about here at the CalKIDS program is that we do provide resources, not only for you, but also for families, consumers, or anyone out there in the space who wish to find out more about the program. And then we'll go ahead and answer your questions. So next slide. So what I'd like to do is now introduce you to CalKIDS. So go ahead. One thing before we get started is I just want to let you know that in the chat are several hyperlinks to resources and valuable portions within our website that I have gone ahead and laid out for you. So if you want to copy and paste that or save that somewhere, that'll really be helpful for you as we move forward. And we're going to also point out some of those hyperlinks that I have posted in the chat as well. So thank you. So let me give you a little background about the CalKIDS program. So the CalKIDS program is actually an acronym. It's the California Kids Investment and Development Savings Program, or CalKIDS. So the state of California has created this program to provide greater access to students who are seeking higher education after high school and the many forms that that takes. We are investing in our young people here in California. One thing to note is that the data now supports and shows that by investing in a young person and making them aware of that with a value as little as $500, not only are they 3 times more likely to enter into a post-secondary space, they're also 4 times more likely to complete that certification, whether it comes as a certificate for a tech or trade program, an AA degree through your community college, as well as those traditional 4-year university diplomas and postgraduate work. The program itself here on the third point is that it is a starting point. We recognize that a CalKIDS account for a young person is not going to resolve all of those financial burdens that a family may be experiencing with higher education expenses, but it's a starting point. And it's a starting point to start that conversation about financial aid, about seeking out opportunities to be able to afford college, and also look at alternative pathways. Next slide, please. So I want to share with you just some numbers. So the CalKIDS program itself is a college savings program where we here at the state of California automatically open a CalKIDS account on behalf of eligible children. And we launched our program on August 10th of last year. So there may not be a lot of familiarity with the program. With the program, though, when we launched, because we receive data sets and we automatically fund those accounts and open those on behalf of students and newborns, we've already opened and established 3.4 million student accounts. And we're also going to open and seed deposit into those accounts monies for the newborns in California. And there's approximately 450,000 of those children born in California each year. So we're talking about a lot of student accounts that are out there just waiting for their recipients to claim them and to acknowledge them. So next slide, please. So what this is here, this is just a brief video that will give you an overview of our program. And when we're done, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of those components so you have a better understanding of the CalKIDS program. So we're going to go ahead and watch this quick video. Thank you.
Team, there's no sound on
No
the
sound.
video.
Okay, let me start it over. My apologies.
That's okay.
No worries.
Okay. Sorry, there's buffering now.
CalKIDS.
Come on.
Good. Cal- CalKIDS is a new state program designed to kickstart your child's future and increase access to higher education with free money for college. This program for Californians serves two groups, newborns and eligible low-income public school students in grades 1 through 12. All California babies born on or after July 1st of this year get a $25 seed deposit. If parents register through the online portal, they get an additional $25 in a CalKIDS account. And when they link an existing or new ScholarShare 529 college savings account, they get another $50 deposit. That's up to $100 in free money for newborns. Eligible low-income children enrolled in public schools in grades 1 through 12 receive a $500 seed deposit in a CalKIDS account. If they're in foster care, they can get an additional $500. And if they're homeless, they get another $500. That's up to $1,500. CalKIDS in the state of California want to help as many kids as possible get more opportunities through higher education with free money for college. To learn more and check your eligibility, visit calkids.org today.
Great, thank you so much. So with that, just to let you know, this video can also be found on the homepage of our website. If you just scroll down towards the bottom of that page, you can find this embedded in that website. We also have a dedicated YouTube channel. And on that dedicated YouTube channel that's titled CalKIDS Program, you can find all of the videos we discussed today in Spanish and in English as well. So that's one of those resources that we're able to provide all of our families in California. So that's just an overview video. If you'll just go ahead and click to the next slide for me, please. There you go. Great.
Okay.
No, that's fine. We will get this rhythm down. So this is good. So what we'll go ahead and if you'll just click through these first three for me, it's going to give three boxes that will show up at the bottom. Perfect. Thank you. So what I want to do is walk you through the life cycle of a CalKIDS account. And so what we're first doing, as I noted at the beginning, is that we automatically open these accounts on behalf of eligible students and newborns in California each year. And so those accounts are already there. The next step is for students and families to go out and determine if they're eligible for a CalKIDS account. So now we need to see if you're eligible. And so what we do is once you've determined eligibility, which we'll talk about those steps in just a moment, is you're then going to register. And that's a really important step. It's registering or acknowledging that you do have a CalKIDS account. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to encourage you, or at least have a conversation about whether or not you can link a ScholarShare 529 account. So ScholarShare 529 is California's official college savings program. It's our sister program here at the ScholarShare Investment Board. And this is a great way for family and loved ones to add to a student's academic ambitions by funding and assisting and putting money into this tax-deferred college savings account. And then finally, what we'll do is with the life cycle of a CalKIDS account is when the student has graduated from high school and they've been admitted into an eligible institution, they'll go ahead and request that distribution of funds, and those funds will be sent directly to that academic institution on behalf of that student. So next slide, please. So I want to talk you through the steps of determining eligibility. Next. So we have two cohorts that we have with the CalKIDS program. The first is our newborns, and our second are our low-income students. And we'll talk about eligibility with those two awardee groups. Next. So for our newborns, it is very simplified. Each child that is born in California on or after July 1st of 2022, regardless of income status, is automatically eligible for a CalKIDS account. What happens is we receive birth information from the California Department of Public Health, and at that point, we then go ahead behind the scenes here at CalKIDS and we open and fund those accounts on behalf of that newborn. If you are coordinating or working with newborn families, just be aware it can take us about 90 days to receive that data set from the California Department of Public Health. So give us about 3 months, even though I do know that newborn parents are very busy. So just be aware of that timeline with that situation. Next slide. So low-income students for eligibility, this is a bit more nuanced. So with our program, it was originally designed to be for newborns. And then during the COVID period, we were fortunate enough that the governor was able to secure additional funding for our program, and we tied this into his education initiative. So Governor Newsom gave our program another $2 billion to fund student accounts for our low-income students in California. And the way that eligibility is determined for our students in California is we use formulas from the California Department of Education. And that's who ultimately determines who's eligible. And then they provide us the data set of those students who have been determined to be eligible. So what the CDE does, or the California Department of Education does, is they use what's called their local control funding formula. And students who have been identified as unduplicated, according to this LCFF, on a particular day and time during the school year, which is the fall academic census day. That's the first Wednesday in October every school year. Those students are those who are eligible for a CalKIDS account. So what does that mean? So typically, an unduplicated student on LCFF are those students who are receiving free meals through the national free and reduced lunch program, not the state's program, but the national program. Families that have submitted an alternative household income form, students that participate in CalFresh, CalWorks, the food distribution program on Indian reservations, as well as students who may be on Medi-Cal. It also incorporates those students who have been identified as migrant, English learners, homeless, and foster students as well. So there's a wide variety of what components meet eligibility, but a student only needs to meet one of those items to be eligible, but they also need to be eligible and identified on a particular day and time, and that is fall academic census day during the school year. So the data that we receive is point in time data. If you'll hit click for me one more time. Great. And so once again, when that data set comes in, we've already received it for our first group of 3.4 million students. And what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in our eligible first graders from this school year at the end of the school year. So we're now pulling in eligible first graders. So those accounts will be available in the coming months. So next slide, please. So when we talk about our students, I just mentioned first graders, and I also mentioned those 3.4 million student accounts that are already established here in California. What we did when we launched the program is we received that first data set of 3.4 million students. In that data set were students who were in 1st through 12th grade last academic year. So those first graders that received a CalKIDS account are now second graders, and those seniors are now wrapping up their first year of post-secondary education. So just realize that as your student who is determined to be eligible and has a CalKIDS account, as they move forward through their school experience, their CalKIDS account will move with them. And what we're now doing with this current school year is, as those move forward, we're now bringing in eligible first graders. And so once again, those are identified and the information is gathered on fall academic census day, which is the first Wednesday in October. And the CDE should be providing us those lists of eligible students for this current year in first grade in the coming months. So be on the lookout for that about midsummer. Okay, next slide, please. So I recognize that the student portion is very complicated. And so when we get to the resources, I'm going to show you some really key information on how to look at that criteria again. But what I want to do now is show you what we've done as far as eligibility and finding out whether or not a child is eligible for an account. We've built into our website what's called an eligibility tool. So with this eligibility tool, this is what our homepage looks like. And you can simply go to the top of the header of the webpage, and you can select the Basics tab, or click for me, please. Great. Or if you scroll down through the home page of our website at calkids.org, you can scroll down to this orange button, which says who is eligible for a CalKIDS account, and select that. Or you can select the proper group that you believe your student or your child is applicable for them. So in this case, you would select student and hit learn more. So if you hit click for me, please. So there's 3 ways that you can use this tool or access this tool. All of those buttons arrive at this page here. This is the who is eligible for a CalKIDS account page. As you start to scroll down through this page, if you'll click for me, please. Let me keep you busy, Sakina. And then what we're going to do is you'll see it now breaks up into 2 groups. So for our newborns, here's our eligibility tool. We talk about the seat amounts, we talk about eligibility. And if you look at the boxes at the bottom, you can actually put in your child's local registration number from their birth certificate, if you have that, put it in this box and hit submit, and it will let you know whether or not the CalKIDS account has been opened yet, or you have a CalKIDS account waiting for your child. Next, please. Now for our students, this one's a little different. So once again, we go through the same criteria. We talk about the amounts that are in your account. We talk about eligibility components. And this is where a student can put in their 10-digit statewide student identifier number. And we talk about where they can access this statewide student identifier number. This is that unique number that the California Department of Education assigns every student in California. And this can be found in a variety of locations depending upon your school district. So we encourage families and students to request that statewide student identifier from either a teacher, a counselor, or somewhere in your front office. It should be made available to them easily. Next. Great. So once they've used that eligibility tool, they can then go ahead and hit the submit button, and it will let them know yes or no if they have a CalKIDS account available to them. If it does say yes, then we'll go ahead and it will move you on to the next step. One thing I do want to point out at this point before I talk about the monies in those accounts is this is just one way of determining whether a child is eligible for a CalKIDS account. The second piece is we have already sent out and are continuing to send out official notification letters to the addresses that we have on file. And so you may have already received, or you may have students who have already received that official notification letter. And we'll talk about that in the coming slides. But I wanted to let you know there's 2 ways of determining eligibility: utilizing the tool or having received that eligibility notification letter. So what I want to do now is talk about the monies that are in your CalKIDS account. So if you'll select the next slide, please. Great. So with our newborns, we go ahead and open these accounts and we place $25 into a CalKIDS account automatically. When a family registers or acknowledges that account through the CalKIDS website at calkids.org, we then add another $25 into their CalKIDS account. And if they open or have already opened a ScholarShare 529 account, they can go ahead and link that ScholarShare 529 college savings account to their CalKIDS account in their registration portal, and we will add another $50 to that CalKIDS account on behalf of that child. Next. So with our low-income students with accounts, we seed each of those accounts with an automatic $500 into an interest-bearing account. If the data that was provided to us from the California Department of Education notes the child as being a foster youth at that time, we will add another $500 to their account. And if they've been identified as homeless, we add another $500 to their account, up to $1,500 for a student. Next. So we talked about the eligibility and how to determine that. And now we've talked about the amounts in those CalKIDS college savings accounts. What we're going to do now is walk you through this incredibly important second step, really. And this is to register or acknowledge your CalKIDS account. Next. We take a digital first approach with our program. So everything happens safely and securely through our website. That's calkids.org. So the first thing you'll want to do is always go to the website. And if you'll select next for me, please. In order to register your account, I'm just checking that question. So I have a question in the chat just that I wanted to address before I get too far away. Is students need to be foster youth or homeless on census day, not over the year? Correct. They need to have been provided that information, or their coordinators at the district level need to be able to provide that information before they certify it within a certain window of time. So that's something that we will want to make sure is provided, but essentially it is collected on fall academic census day. So thank you for that question. And one thing to note with our foster and our homeless youth, if their circumstances should change at any point in the future, we do not rescind that $500 deposit on behalf of that child. So those monies will stay there once they've been identified, and they will remain in their account at that time. So to register their account, what they'll need to do is they're just going to need 3 unique identifiers to register the account. So next slide, please. So this is where that notification letter comes into place. So with our newborn, what you're going to need is either the local registration number off of the child's birth certificate that's at the top right of the page, or a unique code that's been embedded in that official notification letter. So at the very bottom where you see the word start, there's a unique code that's been assigned to every individual that receives this letter. And this is the unique code they'll use to register. The second piece of information they'll need is the child's date of birth and the name of the county in which the child's birth was registered. If you'll select next, please. And just remember, it takes about 90 days for the California Department of Public Health to provide us that information. So next. Now for our students, if you'll select, there you go, great. Once again, they're going to need one of those unique codes. So with that notification letter, they're going to have that same unique code embedded into that letter if they receive the letter, or they can utilize their statewide student identifier from their school district that they receive or their school site. They'll need their date of birth, and then they'll also need the name of the county where the student was enrolled on fall academic census day when they were determined to be eligible. So remember, and we have reminders on the website for this, throughout the website as well, is that that was October 6th, 2021. So the student or the parent or legal guardian needs to be aware of where was my child attending school on that day and what county was that located in. That's the other unique identifier to register the account, okay? So let's go ahead to the next slide. This is another video that will walk you through the process. And if it's a little glitchy, I'll let you know where we can find it so that you can watch this on your own. But this is a video that's embedded on the registration portal page when a student, a parent, or a family member goes to register that student's CalKIDS account.
By registering now with CalKIDS, you are taking a big step towards saving for college or other forms of career training. This short video will guide you through the steps for setting up an account at calkids.org. It only takes a few minutes. Before we get started, it's a good idea to gather the information you'll need. For a newborn participant, you'll need the name of the county where your child's birth was registered and their date of birth. You'll also need either your child's local registration number, which you can find on their birth certificate here, or their unique CalKIDS code found in the letter we sent you or that you may receive in the mail soon. If you're registering for, or as a student, you'll need the name of the county where the student is enrolled in school, their date of birth, and a registration code, which is either a statewide student identifier, SSID, which you can get from the student's school, or the unique CalKIDS code found in the letter we sent you or that you may receive in the mail soon. Now would be a good time to pause the video and gather this information. And keep that registration code at your fingertips. You'll need it all shortly. All right, now that you have all the necessary information ready, let's get you registered on calkids.org. Welcome to the CalKIDS online portal. Here's where you'll need those details you gathered earlier. Begin by entering the county information. Remember, for newborns, you'll enter the county where their birth was registered. And for students, you'll enter the county where they attended school as of Fall Academic Census Day 2021, which was October 6, 2021. Next, enter the date of birth. And finally, the registration code. For newborns, that's the local registration number found on their birth certificate. For students, that's the statewide student identifier, SSID. Or for both newborns and students, the unique code found in the CalKIDS letter we sent you or that you may receive in the mail soon. Now, click register. You're doing great. Just one more step and you're all set. Create your user profile on this page. If you're setting this account up for yourself, select Child. If you're a parent or guardian setting an account up for your child, select Parent/Guardian. Then, fill in your information and select a password in the fields provided. Remember to make a note of your username and password for safekeeping. Click Create a User Profile and, well done! You have successfully registered your CalKIDS account. From this page, you can view the account balance, update your contact information, link this account to a ScholarShare 529 account, make a disbursement, or add another CalKIDS account. For step-by-step instructions on how to link this account to your ScholarShare 529 account, watch the How to Link Your Account video.
Great, thank you so much. So one thing to note in that video that I think is really important is that if you notice, you will designate what type of account that you're opening. So parents do have the ability, or guardians have the ability, to open their own CalKIDS portal, as well as our students who have that digital literacy to do so. They have the ability to register their CalKIDS account as well. We want this to really be an interactive process. We want students to log in to see the value and the monies that are earning interest and await them as they start to pursue post-secondary education aspirations, especially when it comes time to decision-making years, those junior and senior years as well. So, and the great thing about this parent portal is that if you have more than one eligible child, you can actually link all of your children in one location and see all of those balances there. And in addition, you'll see it notes, if you open a ScholarShare 529 account and link it, not only can the student and the child see those balances working for them, but so can the parent or legal guardian as well. So next slide, please. And click one more. There you go. So that is the basic life cycle of a CalKIDS account. So we've determined eligibility, we've registered or acknowledged the account. We've gone ahead and we're going to talk about ScholarShare 529 in just a moment. But when the time comes and a student is now enrolled in a higher education institution, in whatever form that takes, they need to now use these monies to offset those expenses in college. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide and talk about how we request a distribution. So just a few things to be aware of in order to request a distribution of these CalKIDS funds is the student must be at least 17 years of age in order to use these funds. The funds do expire, and they expire once the child or the student turns 26. So there's a nice window of time for the student to utilize these monies. We recognize life happens. Some people do not start a higher education pathway immediately after high school. Some need to take a little bit of time off, or they just need to possibly take a pause in between as well. So these funds are available up to the age of 26. In order to request those funds, the student does need to be enrolled in the eligible institution. And what is defined as an eligible institution for the purposes of the use of these funds is any of those institutions listed on a FAFSA application. We do have a drop-down menu on our distribution site in the portal that you can select your school from. All of those are eligible institutions. So there's a variety of places that a student can pursue post-secondary education aspirations. Those are your tech, trade, career development programs, those certificate programs. As I mentioned before, getting an AA degree through a community college, or pursuing just coursework for those first few years at a community college, and as well as a traditional four-year university pathway. So there are schools that are available and eligible throughout the 50 United States, so they don't need to be spent just in California. It's within the 50 United States, and there are also international programs as well. So all of the requests for these funds are made through their CalKIDS portal that they've registered for. So that's why it's really important. Everything transactionally happens at the CalKIDS portal that they've registered for. So registration or acknowledging that account is very important to do. Another note is just know that there is no need for any taxpayer identifiers in order for a student to use these funds. So we do not request a Social Security number or an ITIN number from a student. They can also use a portion or all of these funds. And one thing that we do, and this is why it's important that they're registered in that institution, is we send these funds directly to the student's institution on behalf of that student. So at no point do those monies come into the hands of the student or the parent or legal guardian. We're essentially, as the stewards of those funds here at the state of California, we pay those monies directly to the institution on behalf of the student. So having a student identifier from that institution is really important. And so they need to be enrolled so they can provide that number on the distribution request. So the financial aid coordinator or the bursar's office can identify and coordinate those monies on behalf of the student, since we don't collect any Social Security or taxpayer identifier information. And then your financial aid coordinator will treat these as outside scholarships typically, and that's how that's used. If there's any questions about financial aid and implications to that, we always encourage the students to defer to that financial aid coordinator. And so there's a great question in the chat. The funds go directly to the schools themselves. Yes, they do. And it would not be possible to pay or to essentially purchase a computer through a computer store. Not at this point. Some of the universities, if not a lot of them, do coordinate through a computer store on campus, usually housed in a bookstore. They can coordinate that with their financial aid coordinator. Thank you so much. That was a great question. So next slide, please. So qualified kids expenses. So this addresses the question we just had. So qualified CalKIDS expenses are essentially their tuition and related fees, books and required supplies. So if it's an apprentice program, if it's a nursing program, we recognize there's other supplies that are required, certain room and board costs, as well as computer equipment, such as what was provided in the question before. And so as we noted earlier, because things change as we move forward in time, we always ask the student to coordinate these monies, if they can, with their financial aid coordinator or speak to their financial aid advisor to discuss the coordination of those funds on their behalf. And these are typically treated as what's called an outside scholarship at this point. So next slide, please. So this is how the student goes about, or the parent goes about requesting. So oops, if you'll click back for me real quick. Thanks. So this is what the portal looks like when it comes time to request that distribution. So they're going to select the request distribution button. Next, please. And then this is what will open. So they're essentially going to need to complete this required information. And this is where they'll put their student ID in for that institution. And we also have drop-down information bubbles for each of these sections if there's questions along the way. Next, please. So once they've completed this information, they've submitted the request for distribution to that institution, they will then go ahead, we will process those funds and pay directly to that institution on behalf of the student. One more time, please, on the click. Great. So that's the life cycle of the CalKIDS account that's managed by the state of California. For those families who wish to expand their opportunity to add monies to a child savings account, as a CalKIDS account, it's state owned and state managed, so we're unable to accept outside contributions into that CalKIDS account. So as an alternative, A family member or a loved one can always open a ScholarShare 529 account and name this student or child as a beneficiary. And they can use these funds as well to offset those higher education expenses. And they can also link this to their CalKIDS portal so they can see all of those balances in one place. Let's go ahead to the next slide. And I want to talk a little bit more about what is a ScholarShare 529 plan. This is also a great alternative for our students who may not be eligible for a CalKIDS account. There's still ways to save and grow interest for your higher education expenses, and it can be handled and participated in with all of those loved ones in your life. So ScholarShare 529 is California's official 529 structured savings plan, and it's specifically designed for monies to be invested for the purpose of education expenses in the future. So all of these monies grow tax deferred, which means you do not pay taxes on the interest earned once you pay for college expenses or qualified expenses for higher education. Once again, the funds can be used at those institutions that are similar to a CalKIDS account. If it's on a FAFSA application, it's eligible for use. And in this situation, anyone who is a U.S. citizen or resident and at least 18 years of age or older with a valid Social Security number or taxpayer identifier can establish and open a 529 account. So go ahead to the next slide, please. So ScholarShare 529, just to let you know, this is California's official college savings program. It's been around for over 20 years, and we have over $11 billion in assets that we currently manage on behalf of California savers. And the department that I work for, the ScholarShare Investment Board, is who oversees this program, and the chair of our board is our current, is always the California State Treasurer, which is currently Fiona Ma. Next slide, please. So the way that a ScholarShare 529 account works is simply 4 steps. You open an account online. Once again, it's all digital. You'll go to scholarshare529.com. Family, loved ones, they don't have to be related, can make a post-tax contribution into that ScholarShare 529 account. Any of those earnings, the interest that grows on those earnings is all tax-free when they're used for higher education expenses. Next slide, please. So what this is showing is what interest looks like with the use of a ScholarShare 529 and that tax deferred component that's added to it. So the gray bar on the graph here indicates you're investing $1 today. The second bar notes we're investing in a typical bank account, and so that's performing at about 1 to 2%. So you're getting about a penny on that dollar. Let's say you're investing in a taxable investment and it's earning about 6% interest, and that $1 is now $2.29. And then you've turned around and you've invested in a ScholarShare 529 account, and the portfolio that it's invested in is giving you about a 6% plus return, and it's now at $2.85. With those 2 orange bars, all of those earnings that you're receiving on that initial contribution, so that 6% or that 0.6%, all of those interest dollars are going to be taxed. So you're not getting all of that earnings to use for higher education expenses. With a ScholarShare 529 account, all of those earnings, that $1.85 in interest that $1 made, if you're using it for an eligible education expense after high school, all of those monies can be used tax-free for the use towards higher education expenses. So it's more value. It really super boosts your opportunity to save and increase that potential to grow. And there's a question in there, so thank you. This is a wonderful question. We do require taxpayer identification information in order for a 529 account to be opened on behalf. Not only opened, in order for a parent, legal guardian, or someone in the community does need to provide taxpayer identification to open a 529 account, and that's a federal law. So next slide. So what you can do is you can once again link that ScholarShare 529 account to a child's CalKIDS account, where they can see both of those balances in one place, which is really a nice incentive to have. And it's an emotional attachment to as well, knowing that someone, not only the state of California, but also loved ones within my community and my family unit, are investing in my educational aspirations as well. Next slide, please. So in this situation, with our newborns, the first box here is we do provide a $50 incentive for the linking of a Scholarshare 529 account. We currently have a student promotion happening. This is the first of our incentives for our student account. And so in the chat, and I'll go ahead and I'll drop this in just a moment. I was going to try and multitask here, but I'll wait just a moment and put it in there. We do have an incentive for our students, and it will end on April 30th. So if a student has registered, or if they're going to register their account and they open or have a loved one that opens and links a Scholarshare 529 account to their CalKIDS account, and they put $50 in that Scholarshare 529 account by June, we will then go ahead and put $50 in their CalKIDS account from the state of California in June as well, once we see that balance there. So this is a little bit of an incentive. When you go to calkids.org right now, it will automatically pop up with information on the incentive for our student accounts right now. But if you'd like to, you can always visit the website, and I'll give you that direct landing page right now. You're going to go to calkids.org/link50. And that is where you can find more information out about this incentive, and just be aware that it does close on April 30th. So one other item about Scholarshare 529 accounts is when I talk about a family unit or a community crowdsourcing for a child's education, they can use what's called UGift that's built into a Scholarshare 529 account. UGift is a way that a owner of the account or the beneficiary, which would be the student, the future student, can send a link to loved ones or members in their life that wish to add to this account. And what this does is this provides a link for families to digitally, or similar to Venmo, add money into this college savings account as little as $1, $5, $10. So special occasions come up and they can do that. And then also, if you want to find out more about a Scholarshare 529 account, just visit our website at scholarshare529.com. We also host webinars there on a monthly basis that you can find out a little bit more. And we also have college savings consultants that you can meet with directly to discuss that. So let's go ahead to the next slide, and I'll answer that question in just a moment. So let's review. Here's what we've talked about today, quite a bit of information. So there's a lot of information here to process with you. We've talked about eligibility, the program, the amounts, the dollars that are going into those accounts, how to register your account, using those funds and how to use them and where to use them, and then super boosting those savings opportunities for asset growth by using a Scholarshare 529 account. Oh, you're good. Go ahead, Sakina. Let's go ahead and move that forward. So I want to give you some resources. So in our website, we are extremely proud of how many opportunities to find out more, and also how to reach out to us to get answers to your questions. So as we discussed, on the left, we have family resources. So everything can really be found at the website, calkids.org. We also have our dedicated YouTube channel. We have social media platforms on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. We have our website. And really importantly, if you have questions, you can always call our call center. So we have an 888 number. It's at the bottom of our website throughout. It's in the footer. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we also provide language services at that call center. So if you have questions that you can't seem to find an answer for, please feel free to give us a call at this number. We can help you there. If you'd like to still send us an email, if you're a family member or a possible CalKIDS recipient, you can go ahead and send us an email at support@calkids.org. And for those of you who work and coordinate with young people in our communities, We also have partner resources for sharing and getting word out about our program as a trusted source. And so we do have online digital toolkits on our website under our partners tab. We have flyers, blog content, newsletter content, social media copy, etc. Everything's ready to go, plug and play. And if you still have questions or requests for possible presentations like this today, feel free to send us an email here at CalKIDS, admin@calkids.org. Okay? So next slide, please. And this is great. I see questions coming in, and I'm going to get to all of that. So perfect. Thank you so much. What I want to do is also point out to you, we do have a frequently asked questions section on our website. So you'll see here, this is what our frequently asked questions section looks like. It's under our help and resources tab. And so under the help and resources tab, this is where we have FAQs. We also have our 800 number, and you can always send us that email. Next, please. And this is just a quick shortcut on how to go ahead and determine that eligibility. You'll go to the website, you'll select the basics tab at the top, select who is eligible for a CalKIDS account, and then go through the necessary section, either a newborn or a student, and enter the information that's being requested. Next, please. So these are just some very common questions. Before we get to the live questions, here are some very common questions that we receive. And so I just want to point these out in advance. So there's always a question about impacts of financial aid. So just to let you know, these are being treated right now as an outside scholarship when your financial aid coordinates these monies. So they're going to be processed according to that institution's guidelines and the procedures surrounding outside scholarship funds. So definitely have your student, or if you are a student, be sure to consult with your financial aid coordinator or the financial aid office to make sure that those monies are being processed properly. Next one, please. And then once again, this is that question regarding taxpayer identifiers. So regarding Social Security numbers or individual taxpayer identifier numbers, we do not require any taxpayer identifiers in order to participate and use these funds in the program for the CalKIDS account. Next, please. And then can I add money to a CalKIDS account? So unfortunately, once again, these funds are owned by the state of California. So we manage them on behalf of your child. And so unfortunately, they can't. So this is where that ScholarShare 529 account really comes into place to help boost and allow others to add money to a child's savings account. Next, please. So let's go ahead and take a few minutes to answer some of these questions. So as I start to scroll up, let me go through the top here. And I think I stopped right about here. Great. So let's see. So both the provider and child have to have an ITIN for the 529 account. At this point, yes, they do, unless federal law changes in the future. But at the way that the current federal law is stated, yes, they will need to. And then my child is starting first grade in the fall. Will he be eligible in October for an account? Yes, they may be. Once they collect that information on fall academic census day, so first Wednesday in October, make sure your child's there and you turn in all of that required information from your school that they're requesting. If they're eligible based on that criteria, then yes, they will be determined as eligible, and we will open that CalKIDS account on behalf of your child after the school year, because the CDE is going to send us that information after the school year has been completed. So great question, thank you. Now, what happens to this money if my child decides to drop out of college? So once again, life happens. We recognize that some students may need to put a pause on it, and they may reevaluate. They may determine, you know, there's a trade program I need to go to. There's a computer training program I need to go to. If it's at an eligible institution, they can use these monies for that as well. So remember, they expire at the age of 26. And so if your child does not participate in anything after high school and goes right into a job or the military, then what we do is by the age of 26, these funds are then forfeited and the monies go back into the program for use by another child? These are great questions. Thank you so much. And will the presentation be shared? So Danisha will let you know about that. We're going to share this on their YouTube channel. So she'll let you know about that in just a moment. And then also, I may have missed it, the child has to be born in California. Yes, they do, for the newborn account. So with the newborns, they do need to be born in California on or after July 1st of 2022 to be eligible for their newborn CalKIDS account. For our students, they don't need to be born in California, but when they are determined to be eligible during that academic school year, they do need to be in a California public institution for learning. So a public school, 1st through 12th grade was the first cohort we identified. And moving forward, it will be eligible students in 1st grade in a California public school. And thank you for sharing the FAQ hyperlink. I appreciate that. Those are all out there. And then since accounts are automatically opened, what happens to the account if the parent or child does not register for it? It does sit there. So that's why it's really important for the student themselves or the parent or legal guardian to register or acknowledge that account. So what we do is we're trying to reach out to your student and your child, as well as yourselves as a parent or legal guardian throughout the upcoming years so that you're aware of it. So they'll go to the website. So spread the word of mouth on this one. But what will happen is if unfortunately no one goes to the website to register the account, unfortunately those funds, if they don't do so before 26, will be forfeited and put back into the program. And then low kinders, so low-income kinders are not qualified yet. Correct, yet is the operative word there. So because kindergarten is not mandatory in all California public schools, we're usually just 1st graders because at that point they'll be in there and the CDE will provide them a statewide student identifier number. So the purpose of, so we have a question about linking a ScholarShare 529 account. Is it really designed to deposit money for higher education? If a nonprofit organization wants to contribute, will they need to do it through the 529 account linked to the CalKIDS? So if a not-for-profit organization wishes to make a contribution to an individual's 529 account, oh, did somebody go off mute? I'm sorry, was there another question? Okay. So just to let you know, with that situation, I wanted to let you know that if you're a not-for-profit organization and you wish to add to an individual's 529 account, you have the right to do so. The only thing I would like for you to be aware of is that you, at that point, have no control over those monies. So you have essentially put those into a young person's 529 account that has been opened on their behalf by a loved one, and then you can put those money in there. If you have other questions, if you would like, feel free to send me, if you're with a not-for-profit organization, feel free to send me an email to our CalKIDS admin at calkids.org, or at the very end, you'll see my inbox and let them know that you were in this event, and we can connect and I can explain some of the other opportunities for that. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm freezing. I'm being told I'm freezing. So hopefully I'm still working. Uh-oh. Great. Can everybody at least hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'll do is if I'm freezing, I'll turn my camera off. But those are all the questions that I have at this point. Is there any more that, oh, I have one more question. 2. Great. As an agency, would like to invite, oh, great. So to the person who just sent me that, thank you very much. If you could send me an email to our support box or to our CalKIDS admin box, we would love to be able to do that for you. So thank you. So with that, I know we're coming up on the 11 o'clock hour, so I'm going to turn it over to Danisha. Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful questions and for participating today. And if you have questions, once again, feel free to reach out to us here. We'd be more than happy to help you share the word as a trusted source and also answer questions if you're a family member or a student. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. That was very informative. And may I say, you have such a gift for public speaking. Thank you for your very plain language delivery of the content. We all appreciate that. Oh, man. So let's see here. What have we learned? Children's savings accounts are a really vital and aspirational asset building strategy. And the long term goal of children's savings account is that they will enhance a young person's access to and success in post secondary education, which increases the probability that they'll have a living wage employment. And CSAs foster a college going identity, which is really important for our youth. It instills the belief that going to college is achievable. So, Rochelle, I want to thank you again for lending your time and your expertise today. Thank you so much to Alex and Sakina, who's managing the back end and helped with all the planning and coordination of our session today. To all of our attendees, thank you so much for sharing questions. Thank you for your engagement. We really appreciate that. We will share a PDF copy of the presentation and also a recording of today's session. And please feel free to reach out to Rochelle if you'd like her to provide additional presentations for your organization. Rochelle, I'm sure there's an appetite to hear this information in Spanish. And so we would appreciate any additional, partnerships with your office to continue to get the word out. And so with that, we'll bring this to a close. Thank you again, everyone, for your time and your participation, and please enjoy the rest of your day.